I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. I do not gamble, but bet on me. Tell them that's like, yeah, it's still love it. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Cause I'm counting wins all around the clock. Never doubt me, boy, I don't stop. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the option. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. I'm running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down, no.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac, and our Cleveland Cavaliers just won their 13th straight. Holy hell, man. It was not always pretty. In fact, it was pretty damn ugly at points, especially in that first half. They had us all biting our collective nails. I'll just put it that way. But they were able to pull through tonight and ended up winning 114-106 tonight. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. Why? Because this had the feeling of a trap game with so many Philadelphia 76ers missing tonight. No Joel Embiid. His declaration, I'm not playing back-to-backs. You just knew he wasn't going to suit up. PG, they're trying to monitor his health. He did not play tonight. Tyrese Maxey, he was a scratch. He did not play tonight. So the Cavaliers absolutely had no excuses to lose this game. And you know what? They didn't. Again, wasn't always pretty, but good teams figure out how to get shit done, and they did that tonight. And you know what? It was not the best of nights for everybody in terms of efficiency, but you expect that during a win streak. Everybody will step up at various points. And even though, we'll start off with Donovan Mitchell, who would finish the night with a stat line on the surface that reads 23 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, very close to getting the first triple-double of his career. It eluded him. I hate it. It would have been the first one for him. That would have been cool. He went 9 of 21 from the field, but that is misleading because Donovan Mitchell, prior to a fourth quarter in which he just absolutely went ballistic down the stretch to put the nail in the coffin, similar to the way that Darius Garland did the other day against Vooch on that drive to the rim, that scoop layup. But Mitchell drilled triple after triple, and he closed the door on the 76ers tonight. So had he not gone off in the fourth quarter, it probably would have been a much, much different discussion than we're having right now. I still think the Cavaliers would have pulled out a W on the back of a couple of other players, but this was not Donovan's best night. But I'm glad that he showed up in the fourth. When the lights were brightest, to quote the old saying about Jarrett Allen and company, Donovan showed up, and you love that. This is definitely one the Cavaliers are probably going to look back at the tape on and feel like they missed a couple of opportunities, especially in the first half, because they got a lot of good looks, but they were uncharacteristically sloppy with the basketball. They did not shoot very well early on, and they allowed way too many open looks for Philadelphia. And I mean, credit to them. In a night where they're missing their three best players in Maxey, George, and Embiid, I mean, you got the rook out there, Jared McCain, going for 34 and 10, and he shot 26 times. That man did not. So far, he has not met a shot that he didn't like out there, and it is. And honestly, they put on a pretty heroic performance without those guys out there. So you got to give credit where it's due. And they ended up giving the Cavaliers a good run for their money. And possibly looked at points like they were going to put a halt to the win streak, but we know that did not happen. But in that first half, back to that, the Cavaliers, I want you guys to take this into consideration. In first halves this season prior to tonight, they had come in averaging 64 points per game, 53.4% from the field, 44% from three-point distance, and they were turning the ball just over 6.1 times in first halves this season. So they've been playing some pretty damn good basketball in the first half. They look like a first half team. They get out to these blazing leads and they kind of slow down in the second, especially in the third quarter. And then they ended up rounding things out in the fourth. That was not necessarily the case in the first half of tonight's game, as they would score just 48 points, so well below their total, 16 points below, if our math is correct. They would shoot 44% in the first half, 35% from three-point distance, and they turned the ball over 8 times, so about 2 times more than they normally do. It just looked very, very uncharacteristic. They looked kind of sloppy with the ball, a little less than enthused to be out there, like they weren't taking the competition all that serious. And I think that's something that we all can we can all see happen at certain points where, you know, you might come in against a team that's very undermanned as they were tonight and expect to get a W, and that just was not the case tonight. I had a feeling that Philly was going to probably try and throw the kitchen sink at Cleveland in a proverbial sense, and I think they did a pretty damn good job of doing that. And Cavaliers thankfully were able to overcome it in the second, but Philly, I mean, they performed admirably in the first half. 45% from the field, put up 54 points on us. They shot 38% from three-point distance, and they out-rebounded Cleveland, which is continuously becoming a point of contention. That is something that we all need to keep an eye on. The rebounding to start this season off has actually been very, very irritating. It's been something that the Cavaliers have struggled at this season, and there are certain reasons for why you might be able to point to that, but at certain times I feel like it's unacceptable. I really do. So they have to clean that up. With the front court duo of Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, you wouldn't think necessarily that they would struggle in that regard, but they have been. And I'm not, I'm kind of at a loss for it. Yes, I know that they've been shooting very, very efficiently. I know that that plays a role in not maybe necessarily being able to pull down a lot of offensive rebounds because you're making shots. And the Cavaliers, they did, despite shooting 44% in the first half, they would end the night shooting 49% from the field, and including 40% from three-point distance. So they did definitely up the efficiency in the second. But at the end of the day, the Cavaliers have got to go to work on the glass. They did end up out rebounding Philly 46-45 when all is said and done, but they have been out rebounded in a lot of these games so far. So I need them to really work on that part. That is one of the things that I'll probably be jotting down in my little notebook of things for the Cavaliers to actually be working on, because otherwise it's been pretty stellar basketball to kick off this season. And we all got to understand, no team is perfect, but at the end of the day, this has still been a damn good start for Cleveland. We can always nitpick, but at the end of the day, it's always good to start a season off 13-0, something that only 6 teams over the course of the NBA have ever managed to do. Of course, we all know the 24-0 streak that the Golden State Warriors back during the 2015-2016 season started off with. The Houston Rockets in 93-94 won 15 in a row. They ended up winning the finals. The Washington Capitals all the way back in 1948 went on a 15-game win streak. They made the finals. The Dallas Mavericks in 02-03 won 14 in a row. They didn't make it to the finals. They lost in the conference finals. The Boston Celtics back in 1957-58 season won 14 in a row. They also advanced to the finals, but lost. And then the Chicago Bulls in the 96-97 season won 12 in a row. Well, no, let's stop there. So after Boston, it's Cleveland, right? Winning 13 in a row, and TBD on the finals. But I like our chances. I definitely like our chances considering all the teams that I just named that went to the finals. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13 or more games in a row have managed to get to the finals. that speaks volumes, in my opinion. I mean, I love it. I love it. We'll see, man. We'll see how things end up playing out, but this just goes to show this team can win them all. I mean, they can win ugly, they can win pretty, they can pull it out whenever they need to. Let's hop into the chat, shall we? Rob says Cleveland out talented the ops tonight. Some nights we outplay or outshoot or out defend a complete team. Yeah, I think that there are definitely going to be performances in which you can definitely see that our talent maybe wins out. And there's nothing wrong with that because you cannot be perfect or you can't be, highly efficient every single game that you enter. But I did walk away with this one feeling like the Cavaliers are probably going to look at this win and feel like they could have done things a little bit differently earlier on in this game. Double J says wasn't awful, but should have been better. I know they both banged up though. I think that's in reference to Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley out there. Yeah, Allen would finish with a double-double, 11 points, 12 rebounds, 5 of 8 from the field. But you could clearly tell that, he just personally, I feel like Jarrett Allen should have sat tonight. You guys let me know in the comments if you feel the same way. But this was definitely a night I at least entered feeling like Jarrett Allen should have sat with no Embiid, no Paul George, no Tyrese Maxey. I definitely felt like Jarrett Allen probably could have taken this night off and tried to get the rest. And yes, I know that based upon what we saw during the game, that we probably don't win this without his production, although it wasn't typical Jarrett Allen production. If he comes into this game completely healthy and there's no Embiid, there's no George, there's no Maxey, they probably go to Jarrett Allen all day and he feasts. But that did not happen tonight. You can clearly tell that he's just off. So I really honestly entered this one feeling like Jarrett Allen should have taken a seat tonight. And I was honestly hoping to see a little bit of JT Thor. He may not be a prototypical a big man, right? But he can certainly give you minutes at the 4 and the 5 if needed. But I don't know. I feel like they should have given him the night off, especially considering some of the games that we do have on this schedule coming up here. Boston, they're not far off. Cleveland gets a day of rest in between tonight's game and Friday's game against Chicago. But I mean, Chicago, again, as we just saw, they run, man. They have the top pace in the league. They're going to they're going to have your guys tired. I definitely would have sat Jarrett Allen down tonight. Double J says, I was thinking the same, honestly. I think we all were, man. I think, you can just see the way he's played over these last couple of games, and it just does not seem like typical Jarrett Allen, but I think he'll get through it. Just tired legs, hopefully. Svenreek says, why would he sit when he feels fine? Guys can say they feel fine, and that's fine. If you feel good enough to play, then play. But sometimes I do think there comes a point when the team, the coach has to step in and say, you know what, man, we see that you've been putting a lot of stress on your body and whatnot. Sit down, take this night off, get your legs back under you, because I'm sorry, Jarrett Allen does not look like Jarrett Allen. He doesn't look like the typical Jarrett Allen that we're used to. But if you feel like if that's up to the player, that's fine. I get it, but we'll see. We'll see. You take performances like this with a grain of salt, though. Momo says, just tuning in. Yee. Let's fucking go. 13-0, baby. That 13-0 feeling. You love it. Momo says, respect on that McCain kid. Good game, young man. Yeah, man. I mean, he looked like he had no fear out there. Again, McCain would drop 34 points and 10 assists on Cleveland on 10 of 26 from the field, including 6 of 13 from 3-point distance. I mean, nothing but respect when a team is missing their top 3 players and they're still able to give you somewhat of a battle out there. Richard Hacker says only Cleveland and Orlando have played 13 in the East. Yep. Definitely been a lot of games, and Cleveland has traveled a lot. So I'm hoping that that they'll be able to blow out some of the competition in these next couple of games heading into Boston so that their guys actually feel rested. LA Broda says Embiid said he felt fine yesterday. He did, right? And so Embiid, as we all know, also said that he was not going to be playing on the second night of back-to-backs. And I can understand why they are choosing to allow him to do that, considering that he has barely held up over the years come the postseason. So it is a smart decision, considering that Philly is likely to end up in the playoffs either way. And he had a pretty inefficient night last night. I'll just throw that in there. So got to keep him fresh, but is Embiid going to be in a rhythm come the postseason if he's not really doing back-to-backs? I don't know. We'll see. B Skrills says, wow, Bulls walked off the Knicks. Chicago is not a bad team. I think the shift in play style that they have, especially in regards to pace, has definitely elevated their offense. Their defense is still shit, but I definitely believe that they could potentially be a threat to make the playoffs at the very bottom, seeding wise. You'll have to see where things all shake out because the East is just such a fucking mess right now. I mean, the third seeded team, the fourth seeded team in the Knicks, I think after tonight's game, I don't know if it's actually updated, but Bleacher Report has them listed at 5-5, and that is good enough for fourth in the East right now. I posted a tweet earlier about how the Detroit Pistons at 5-7 are the seventh seeded team currently in the East, and I felt that was interesting because, as we all know, they only won, I believe, 14 games last year, and it took them all the way to like late January to win 5 games all of last season. They've already won 5 this year. And so the Eastern Conference, for the Cavaliers to be off to a 13-0 start, looking like the best fucking team in basketball, that's great. So I'll take a win any way we can get them as long as nobody leaves injured. And that's exactly what we got tonight. Another W, put some more space in between ourselves and the rest of the East, and that's all we can hope for. We all want to believe that they can go 82-0, and we're not going to speak any L's into existence here, but with every win, you do give yourself a little bit more of a cushion in the event that happens. And so that within itself should make you feel pretty damn happy about where the Cavaliers are right now. Momo says, really glad didn't have to watch Embiid flop around and shoot 50 foul shots. Yeah. So those of you who are unaware, the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid, this man gets just the weirdest whistle ever. If you breathe near him, not even on him, if you breathe in his general vicinity, they will call a foul on you. Conversely, Cleveland, we have to yell, scream, and damn near cry for foul calls on our end. Our leader, I shit you not, in free throw attempts per game is Donovan Mitchell at just 4. And Cleveland as a team, I believe, is ranked 27th in free throw attempts on the season. It's not like we're not taking the shots. It's not like we're not attempting to drive inside. But I just don't understand it. It's not like we were taking a ton of threes compared to last season. I believe we entered tonight shooting 36.9 triples. That's about half a triple more, like 0.5 to be exact, more than we took last year under JV Bickerstaff. Pace is up. That's for sure. We've gone from 24th to 8th. But at the end of the day, 4 free throw attempts as your leader on the team in Donovan Mitchell. LA Brodus says, wait, I thought Jarrett was leading in free throws. Donovan Mitchell, as of tonight, entering tonight, was attempting 4 free throw attempts per game to Jarrett Allen's, I believe, 3.9, if I'm not mistaken. And that it just tells you, man, it tells you that although they're driving a lot, they're getting a lot of contact, they're just not getting the calls. And you know what? Actually, look something up. Evan Mobley actually has the second most drives, like total drives, in the NBA among bigs. but he's not getting he's not getting free throws, right? He's not getting free throws. He entered tonight generating 10 free throw attempts off of drives to the basket. And again, he is second to only Julius Randle in drives for bigs. I am not getting why this man is not getting calls. I'm not understanding why the Cavaliers in general are not getting calls. But regardless of that, the Cavaliers have found ways around that, and they have managed to win games, all of their games, despite that happening. And I know that as a player, that has to be damn frustrating. I mean, you see Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland looking visibly frustrated when they are driving towards the rim, especially towards the end of games where, a missed call, the whistle not being blown can really, really start to add up. And so they're frustrated. And honestly, it's okay, right? You can tell that these guys are just being smacked. They're being I think DG got hit in the face again tonight, although he got the call, thank fucking God. But they're more often than not, when they're getting hit, they're not getting calls. And they found a ways around it. So I have no choice but to move, right? Hopefully they file a complaint eventually if this shit keeps up. But as long as they're winning, I can't complain too much. Dr. Claw 77 says DG was great tonight, even though they tried to booty fingers. Gary Trent Jr. reference. And couldn't get threes off, was in closing mode in the fourth. Absolutely. Prior to Donovan Mitchell going absolutely bonkers in that fourth quarter, drilling triples, DG was right there, right? Darius would finish with 25, 5, and 6 on a very efficient 10 of 16 from the field. And although he only made one of his 4 triples, he was impactful, especially when driving towards the basketball. And you'll love to see it. Darius is already up to, if I'm not mistaken, this was his 7th game scoring 20 or more points. It just goes to show you that anybody who truly wanted to give up on Darius Garland after last season was just, they were just taken in by the moment. They're being prisoners of the moment, because clearly Darius Garland is an all-star caliber player. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, tonight was his 7th game scoring above 20 points per game. You'd love to see it. Looks like a completely different player. Looks like a completely different player from last year. Turns out that breaking your jaw, losing 12-something pounds, having a family member die, all of these things can impact you, right? I mean, who would have thought? Darius Garland just looks like the all-star caliber player that we have always known him to be. Yes, Dr. Claw with the booty fingers comment. Yeah, if you've never heard that before, that is in reference to Gary Trent Jr. damn near gouging Darius Garland's eye out 2 years ago. Crazy. That's why we can't stand Gary Trent Jr. on this podcast. Same way we feel about Kelly Olynyk, right? Ripping people's arms out of their socket. You hate to see it. Trevion McKelton says, watch from work. Let's go. Still undefeated. Yeah, I'm glad they were able to give you a win, something to look forward to, and while you're at work. But hopefully not all of these games are as close, right? We're starting to get some close calls. But you know what else? Tonight also marks the 13th game in which the Cavaliers have scored over 100 points. The streak stands. I do not believe for the life of me that these Cavaliers will dip below 100 points all season. I truly do not believe that, because the way that Kenny has this team playing, the pace that we're playing at, the types of looks that we're generating, more possessions means more opportunities to score. And that to me is awesome. The comment section is clearly taken aback by this comment by Dr. Claw in regards to booty fingers. And they are asking why this man, Gary Trent Jr., is named that. And it's to me, it's pretty clear. Darius Garland's eyeball after that eye poke or eye gouge, should I say, pretty ugly. I mean, it was red as hell. Looked like it was it's swollen about 3 times its normal size. It was crazy. Double J says pink eye pink eye fingers. That's another one. Pink eye fingers digging in his shit and poking people in their eyes. Oh my god. Okay, that is not the type of visual that I needed tonight after this win. JJ says Gary, Trent, Kelly Olynyk, Mo Wagner are not welcome in Cleveland. All for various reasons, all valid reasons. And I'll leave it at that in that regard. It's just, it's been a night when I'm reading comments out the comment section talking about this kind of stuff. Trevion McKelton says, y'all crazy. I agree. I agree. Y'all crazy here, man. Oh man. Double J says, I had to explain the lore. Thank you for doing that. LA Broda says, so is this a family show? I don't know. I have to ask myself that all the time now, LA. I don't know who my audience is anymore. I really don't know who my audience is anymore. I want to keep it family friendly, but at the same time, I can't help myself based upon what we're seeing night in and night out in the comment section here. So I don't know. We roll with what the people want to roll with, I suppose. But this game, let's get back to it. Evan Mobley. There were certain points tonight in which I felt that Evan Mobley should have taken a 3-point shot. Should have taken it, opted to drive in. But, you can't argue with the production at certain points tonight. 14 points, 7 rebounds, 4 of 8 from the field. Did turn the ball over 4 times. Evan got stripped. He turned the ball over on, when he was handling. There were just certain parts of tonight's game that I felt Evan was, I don't want to say non-existent, but his impact wasn't felt at certain points. And I felt like this could have been a much better game from him. Trevion says, regrown and childish at the same time. You got to be, right? We're all kids at heart, right? We definitely are things at heart, kids at heart. And you want to be able to have fun during specific live streams like this for sure. But yeah, Evan Mobley could have definitely had a better game, especially with Embiid out. I just thought that both bigs would have had much better games, but they didn't. Oh, well, we move. The bench. Let's talk about the bench for a minute. The bench, they did get production. It wasn't like a 45, 50-point explosion that we have typically been accustomed to from this bench, but they did manage to contribute, everybody out there. Dean Wade, regardless if he's starting or coming off the bench, continues to be an impactful player. He would end up drilling a pair of triples tonight, play some stellar defense out there at points in his 20 minutes. And as I continue to say about Dean, he's never going to be a guy that wows you from a statistical standpoint, but he will always be impactful out there. He gave the Cavaliers 6 tonight. Karis LeVert wasn't necessarily efficient, going just 2 of 8 from the field, but he did contribute on the defensive end, and he would produce a stat line of 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. And I know the guy that you guys all want to talk about, Ty Jerome. This was by no means Ty Jerome's best game of the season, right? But he showed out in the fourth quarter. Ty actually ended up scoring all 8 of his points in the fourth quarter and was an important fixture of Kenny Atkinson's lineups down the stretch. He just shows a lot of grit and toughness night in and night out, even when he's not performing up to his usual standards. And while he would only play 13 minutes tonight, I did feel like they were pretty damn impactful minutes. And Ty, it sucks because he's probably not going to clear the requirement to meet for Sixth Man of the Year. And that's why you're not finding him in sports books, like a lot of people, including myself, have been asking. It's just because he's not getting the minute totals. He's not going to hit the requirements to be able to do so, in my opinion. And nights like tonight, where he's only playing 13 minutes, probably not going to help. But regardless of the award or not, we know how impactful Ty has been, and it's definitely been something that's been eye-opening for me because when we acquired him, I continue to say I always viewed him more as just a shooter. And I knew that, based upon his past at UVA, that he's a quality facilitator and he could be a playmaker for a team if they asked him to be that. But I just didn't feel that the Cavaliers were going to require him to be a big time ball handler. But lo and behold, they put the ball in his hands a lot and, have kind of asked him to be a facilitator. And we've seen that reflected in some of the drive totals on the games and on the season for the Cavaliers in general. He is top 5 in drives on this team so far. And he's been damn impactful when he's doing it, right? He was prior to tonight's game, I believe he was still floating up there around 1 or 2 in terms of points per possession when functioning as the pick and roll ball handler out there. And we just know how impactful he can be when he's doing that. He hits you with a deadly floater most of the time. He makes guys lob threats out there, whether that be Jarrett Allen or Evan Mobley, and he can also drive and kick, where you've seen that a number of times already during this season, where he has hit a 3-point shooter in stride out there or spotting up, which is, something that all of these things are something that he brings to the table. And you love that about him on such a budget contract at just a little over $2.5 million. And so not the best night in terms of, minute total for Ty, but when it counted, when we really needed him to show up, he definitely ended up giving some quality production. Again, he scored all 8 of his points in that fourth quarter, and they were all needed. Let me tell you, that was at the start of the fourth quarter. He kicked things off, and I couldn't be happier with him because a lot of people prior to Kenny Atkinson's comments about him being the MVP of September, they had completely forgotten about Ty. Coming off that ankle surgery, in which, caused him to miss the entire season, sans 2 games, he was kind of an afterthought, especially after Craig Porter Jr. had somewhat of a breakout last year. And he has essentially rendered Craig Porter Jr., in games where the team is actually fully healthy, he's rendered Craig Porter Jr. an afterthought. Speaking of Craig actually saw the court tonight. 11 minutes for him, scored 3 points, dished out 2 assists. But I mean, it's having guys like that you can rely upon when you're not necessarily at full strength, that make this team so damn good, right? Even when you're missing pieces, even when guys are not performing to the tops of their abilities, you can still turn to the end of your bench and ask them to provide something, even if it's just being a body out on the court. And and Craig Porter Jr. was able to do that in the absence of Sam Merrill tonight. I was curious to see what they were going to end up doing without Sam, because Sam's been such a big part of the Cavaliers rotation so early on into the season. And I was wondering how the minutes distribution was going to work with that, because I believe coming into tonight, Sam was actually averaging around 20 minutes per game, 19.7 minutes per game in his 12 appearances this year. And so they chose to distribute those minutes in a, I suppose, a somewhat understandable way. Karis LeVert got his usual 20 plus. He played 25 minutes. Dean got 20. George got 16. Ty got 13. And then Craig took 11 of those minutes. And the starters, the trio of Darius, Donovan, and Evan played 34 apiece. Jarrett also played 32. So this might be one of the first games. I need to double check, but this might be one of the first games in which at least the core 4 has played 30 minutes each, 30 plus minutes each. I'll need to double check before making that declaration. But I believe that this is closer to that. And then Okoro only played 20 minutes tonight. So they chose to distribute Sam's minutes up amongst those 10 players. Thought we might see a little bit of Jalen Tyson. Thought we might even see a little bit of Luke Travers, but that did not occur. I was hoping to see JT Thor. That did not occur because Jarrett Allen was healthy. He was healthy enough to play, let me clarify. And Evan Mobley, despite an illness, decided to play as well. So there you have it. That is how they ended up circumventing the Sam Merrill minutes. They distributed those amongst those 10 players. But I think that's really about it for tonight. There really isn't much else to take away from tonight's victory other than the Cavaliers walked away with their 13th straight, right? Not the cleanest basketball being played at points, but when it mattered, they were able to pull through, and their stars and Darius and Donovan definitely showed out. So can't Can't not be happy with that. Oh, and let me point this out too. After turning the ball over 8 times in the first half, they only turned it over 3 more times. That's something to be happy about, right? So that is definitely something they're going to point to from this game and say, you know what? We actually took care of the ball tonight, despite it being not necessarily the cleanest game at the start. Double J says, few times Kenny has gone with a 3-guard lineup when we play a faster, small team. Do we like that, or should we stick with the dominance of the bigs? I think it's just going to be situational and matchup dependent, right? Obviously, you could get away with it tonight because they did not have Embiid out there, and Paul George is pretty damn big wing. So you can get away with playing Donovan, Darius, and Ty together in specific lineups with Ty playing the 3. You could even get away with playing Darius, Donovan, Karras. There's a couple of different lineups you can go. I think we also saw lineups with Craig Porter Jr., Ty Jerome, and Darius or Donovan at certain points tonight. So there's definitely validity in that, but I just think that they probably want to keep that matchup dependent because Philly essentially started Gershon Yabusele at the center position tonight. And I was happy to see him. He was definitely a guy that I wanted the Cavaliers to pick up after the Olympics. And I was kind of heartbroken that we did not get to see that occur, but the Cavaliers have made me forget about that based upon the start to the season. But he would finish with 10, 9, and 5. And I think John Michael pointed it out on the broadcast tonight. It looks like Gershon was moving all night long in terms of his screen setting. He looked like he was setting moving screens constantly, and they just were not being called. But regardless, I thought he managed to perform admirably in the absence of Joel Embiid. But yes, just one final point upon the 3-guard lineup. I think it's going to be heavily matchup dependent. Talking to Grubman Media says, what's up, Mac? Lucky 13. Do you think the Cavaliers will go into the Celtics game undefeated? Yes, I do. I continue to be a person that loves to speak things into existence. I think that power of positivity generally wins out most of the time. But I also realize that we never truly want to overlook the competition, no matter how big or small or how much of a threat we believe them to be. So coming up prior to that November 19th matchup against Boston, we have another date with the Chicago Bulls, which should be another fun affair, assuming these guys are, rested up, because Chicago plays at one of the quickest pace, if not the quickest pace in the league still. We got the Charlotte Hornets, who honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that game. And then we have Boston. So we have 2 more games. You got Chicago and we have Charlotte. I certainly believe that the Cavaliers have what it takes to win these next 2 games. But you never want to overlook your competition. And that's exactly what could have happened tonight if the Cavaliers did not come in mentally prepared and mentally sharp. And one of the greatest things about Kenny Atkinson thus far is that he has had these guys both, right? He has had them ready from a mental standpoint every single night, no matter who the competition is. So huge credit to Kenny for that and not getting these guys to lose any type of competitive mentality despite who their opponent is out there. That being said, I think that's a good place to leave it off at tonight. If, like I always say, guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you an invite. If this is your first time viewing the podcast, do me a favor, subscribe. You never know what you might find on the channel. We have been lucky enough to go live after every Cavs game, and every game has been a W. So we don't know anything about losing yet this season. We have never had to pod after a loss, and I'm hoping to keep that going. And honestly, I kid when I say that. I'll probably be trying to go live after every game, win or lose, but it always feels better to have a win to talk about. Hit that like button. Go Cavs.